What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, Under Center with Abelson, presented to you by Real Spiel Podcast. We are exactly 3 weeks away from a new college football season. And with that, I wanted to bring you guys a new college football podcast. I'm a huge college football junkie. So I wanted to start this. I've been wanting to start this up for a while, somewhere I can come and, talk all things college football a couple times a week. So right now the name is Under Center, but that is subject to change. Let me know if you guys have a better name. I tried to go to ChatGPT and it did not give me shit. So this is the best we can do for now. But yeah, um, you know, like I said, college football season is about 3 weeks away. Here in the next week or two, the preseason AP poll should be going out. So I kind of wanted to get ahead of it and give you guys my own preseason AP poll because the AP voters usually are very bad at their jobs. So I don't have a lot of confidence that they will get it right. So hey, I wanted to get mine out there to see if I can do a little better job at my top 25. So yeah, with all that being said, let's get into it. I'm just going to list off. I'm just going to list off my top 25, um, and go from there. I'll dive into some of the teams outside of the top 25, and have more notable teams outside of the top 25, and kind of give you an idea of why I rank them there. And then the top 10, I'll probably jump into all those teams and tell you what I think about them. So yeah, let's get into it. My number 25 team is Texas A&M. My number 24 team, we got Tennessee. 23, we got Oklahoma. 22, we got Ole Miss. 21, SMU. At 20, we got Iowa State. At 19, we got Louisville. At 18, we got Kansas State. At 17, we got Texas Tech. At 16, we got Arizona State. 15, we got Michigan. 14, we got Indiana. At 13, we got South Carolina. 12, we got Miami. 11, we got Illinois. At 10, we got Florida. At 9, we got LSU. Then we got Oregon at 8, Notre Dame at 7, Alabama at 6. We got Georgia at 5. We have Clemson at 4. At 3, we got Ohio State. At 2, Texas. And at number 1, we got the Penn State Nittany Lions. So yeah, hopefully I'll have a graphic up for you guys to see this. But yeah, that is my top 25 as of right now. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's see, where do I want to start? Um, I guess we'll just start at 25, Texas A&M, and why I put them at 25. Um, I'm just not. I feel like it's the same story with Texas A&M. Even since Jimbo Fisher was there, every year they got a great recruiting class. They got all this talent. They got all these guys, but for whatever reason, they always end up having an average season. They win 6, 7, 8 games, and you just in the season really disappointed, feeling that they should have had a better year than they did. And that's still the same boat that I'm in with them. Um, yeah, I'm still in that same boat with them. They had a okay year last year. They went 8-4, but it felt like it kind of went off the rails a little late in the season. It looks like they had some games that they should have won that they didn't. So I really can't put them any higher. Marcel Reed, he's going to be a second year quarterback. I think he's a very good athletic quarterback. You always know Texas A&M is going to be good in the offensive line and the defensive line. They got a good quarterback. I mean, a good running back. So I think they're just going to be your middle of the average pack SEC team. So I really can't put them really any higher. At Tennessee, we got at 24. I know this is someone. I know this is a team that a lot of people had a little higher. Um, I just can't really put them higher due to Nico leaving. If Nico Emilavia was still on the team, they'd be higher on my list. They'd probably be close to the top 10. But with his departure and the trade they essentially made, him going to UCLA and Joey Aguilar going to Tennessee, I that Josh Heupel system is just a very tough system for quarterbacks to learn. And you saw it last year. A first year quarterback in that system with a lot of talent had some trouble, never really found his footing, had some games where he just struggled a little bit. Go back to Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, his first year at Tennessee, it wasn't that great. It wasn't until his second year there, or his second year starting, that they had that incredible season. They ended up beating Alabama. So it's just a tough system to learn. There's a lot of downfield options. There's a lot of, complexities to that system. I'm not gonna try to act like I know the X's and O's, but yeah. Again, especially Joey Aguilar, he's an okay quarterback. He had a good year at App State. Last year, he had an okay year at UCLA, and he's just not really a quarterback that I think can elevate above the X's and O's and figure it out, especially with him getting there so late. He didn't even transfer in until after the spring portal. So I just don't think that's enough time. But all around, I think their defense will still be good. Josh Heupel's a good coach, so I still think they'll be all right. But again, I can't really put them any higher. Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a team. I don't know. I've been seeing them all around. I haven't seen them in some people's rankings. I've seen them pretty high up in some people's rankings. But Oklahoma, man, it's tough to rank them because I love Oklahoma coming into the year. I think talent wise and roster wise, I think they're up there. Um, it's just the only reason I can't put them any higher is because of that the schedule, man. Their schedule is absolutely brutal. I'm gonna look it up real quick. They have a 6 game stretch that is literally just not fair, man. It is just not fair. So first they play Michigan, the second game of the year. Then they play Auburn, and then they have a 6 game stretch where they play Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. Like I said, I love their roster. They got the arguably best quarterback in the transfer portal, John Mateer, out of Washington State last year. He is an incredible quarterback. I think he was only one of few quarterbacks to throw for over 3,000 yards and run for over 800 yards. He's a good athlete, has a great arm, and the defense they're bringing back is just absolutely incredible. Brent Venable is always going to put out a defense that can compete. Um, but yeah, it's just the schedule, man. Their schedule is just brutal, and like if they go 8-4, I think 8-4 would be respectable. But I think it's going to be tough for them to go 8-4, man. And I think this is year 4 Brent Venables. He has to win, man. He has to win. If he goes 8-4, I think he's safe. 8-4, I don't think they get in the playoffs, but I think with that schedule, they'll be right on the outside looking in. But yeah, that's why I have Oklahoma a little lower. Um, let's see, we got SMU at 21. SMU, I think, is going to be a pretty good team. I think them and Louisville are going to be competing with Miami and Clemson for the ACC championship. They lost a couple pieces from last year, but Rhett Lashley, I think he's a good coach. They got Kevin Jennings still, so I think in the ACC they're still going to be respectable. Um, I got most of the I got most of the Big 12 teams grouped together. Iowa State at 20, Kansas State at 18. I got Texas Tech at 17, and I got Arizona State at 16. Um, I put all these teams right here simply because your guess is as good as mine as who's going to win the Big 12. You can try and predict it. I know Arizona State, Texas Tech are kind of the cream above the crop, but I don't think there's a cream above the crop. I'm pretty sure teams 1 to like 11 or 12 all have like a over under total of 6.5 or 7.5 or better. So like that tells you everything. The worst team in the SEC probably has a win total of 3.5, 4.5. The fact that the almost last team in the Big 12 is still at like 5, is still at like 6.5 tells you that conference is absolutely crazy. I know people like to debate what's the deeper conference, them or the SEC. The SEC is deeper in talent, but I think the Big 12 is deeper in teams who can actually win because Arizona State was picked to finish dead last year, and Oklahoma State was predicted to finish first, and Oklahoma State finished last or second to last, and Arizona State won the conference. So I think the same thing can happen this year, but I do like Arizona State slightly because they are bringing their quarterback back. They got Jordan Tyson. He was hurt last year, and I think Dillingham is the best coach in that conference. Texas Tech, this is probably the order I like them in, honestly, 7, 8, 16, 17, 18, and 20. Texas Tech, they absolutely killed it in the portal. They bring back a top 5 offense from last year. The defense is where they kind of struggled, so I think some of those portal additions will help defensively. Kansas State, Avery Johnson's coming back for year 2 as a starter. For whatever reason, They're always just winning 8, 9 games a year, no matter what. And Iowa State, I think, like I said, they're all up there together. I have Louisville at 19. I'm a L1C4. I'm a huge Louisville guy, Louisville fan. Um, I like us at 19 to come into the season. I think we we should have no reason not to go 10-2. No reason to not go 10-2. The schedule's not as hard this year. We play Clemson at home. We don't have to play Notre Dame. We play SMU and we play Miami. Those are going to be 3 tough games. But I think if we can go 1-2 in those games, I like our chances. But for whatever reason, we always end up losing a stinker. We have no reason losing. Last year we lost to Stanford. The year before we lost to Pitt. So like, even if we can go 2-1 in those games and still have a stinker against a team, I still like our chances. Miller Moss, I think he got the short end of the stick last year at USC. I just don't think he fit that system really well, and they kind of gave up on him quickly because they do have a backup there, the starting quarterback at USC now, who I think is probably a little better talent wise than Miller Moss. But I trust Jeff Braun, man. You could throw me back there, and I think I'm gonna get at least 10 touchdowns because he is just a quarterback whisperer. If you can just make the accurate throws and put the ball on time and on target, I think you can win in his system. Tyler Shuck, he had drafted second in the second round or third round. Jack Plummer took them to the ACC championship game. He had Aiden O'Connell go to a Big Ten championship, and Aiden O'Connell's in the NFL now. You just can't underestimate Jeff Brom as a play caller. Um, so I think Louisville's going to be in good shape. I don't really see a reason why we don't finish second or third in the ACC this year, um, or even win it. Let's see. Another notable team is Michigan. I have them at 15. Um, I know I've seen a lot of people have them a little higher, some a little lower. I just 15 just feels right to me. Uh, I, it all depends on what the offense looks like. Michigan last year finished the year as good as they could. They beat Ohio State. They beat Alabama in the bowl game. They got Bryce Underwood to flip. So like they had probably the best ending of last year as any team that wasn't Ohio State and didn't win the national championship or whatever. But I have to see that offense before I really, really fall for Michigan. The defense is going to be good. That culture that they built there is just sound. I think the defense is going to be fine, but I do think the offense is going to be way better than last year. I think they were outgained in every game except like 4 last year, and they still finished with 8 wins, which is wild to think about because like it feels like they couldn't even get the ball past midfield, and they still finished with 8 wins. Um, but yeah, that's why I have them at 15. I got Indiana at 14. I know Coach Sig gets a lot of hate for his confidence or cockiness, however you want to put it. But I really like him as a coach. He's just a winner. He won at JMU. He won last year at Indiana. He's just a winner. And he got, I think, one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal, Fernando Mendoza, out of Cal. He's going to be a great addition. I think he's an upgrade from Kurt Ortis from last year. Um, I think Indiana's going to be a solid team. South Carolina is another notable team. I know a lot of, and I have them a little high, and think my heart really likes. Something about South Carolina just makes me think last year was just somewhat of a fluke year. I just can't put my finger on it. Um, they finished the year incredibly well. They have the talent. They have Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart, the phenomenal freshman on the defensive line from last year is coming back. But something about last year just felt a little fluky. It didn't feel like they can repeat it again. Um, so I might get proven wrong on this one, but line at 13 is I put them there because I do respect the quarterback. Sellers, I think, is going to be a top pick in next year's draft. I think he's going to go out. Shane Beamer, he's an incredible coach, but I might eat my words on this. But for whatever reason, I liked them. My gut has them a little lower, but I put them at 13. We got Miami at 12. Um, I know I'm a Carson Beck guy. I mean, I'm a Carson Beck guy. I know people love to shit talk him for the way he played last year, but I think he got thrown under the bus and was put in a situation where a lot of it wasn't his fault. The receivers last year couldn't catch a thing. They led the country in drops last year. They couldn't get any separation. They couldn't get open. And when they did get open, they dropped the ball. And the offensive line couldn't block last year. The running game just wasn't that great, especially when you have ETN back there. It just wasn't that great. Yes, Carson Beck had some stretches where he didn't play well, but I think more it was more because of the team around him. But I think in Miami, if he can have even just half of what kind of Cam Ward did last year, I think Miami is going to be in a good shape. The defense needs to get fixed though, but for whatever reason, I just can't fully trust Mario Cristobal. It feels like he is just a lock to make your team lose one game a year. I know a couple years ago against Georgia Tech, he had the ball. They could have won if they took the knee. He didn't take the knee, and Georgia Tech, I think, ended up winning on the game-winning touchdown. And last year, they had 10 wins. They were set to go to the ACC championship game, and they just absolutely blew it against Syracuse. I think they were up multiple touchdowns against Syracuse too, and they just absolutely blew it. But Miami, I think they're going to be up there with Clemson and Louisville and SMU, and I think Carson Beck is going to have a good bounce back year and show why he came into last season as the number one quarterback. Um, Illinois, Illinois, they're kind of in the same field as South Carolina to me. Um, they finished last year incredibly well. They were a team that people really didn't have a lot of high hopes for last year, or a lot of elite hopes for last year, but they kind of finished the year extremely well. They beat South Carolina in the bowl game, and they brought back a lot of guys, just like South Carolina. Luke Altmaier, he's back as the quarterback. And I think their schedule is a little easier than last year. So I'm kind of in the same position with South Carolina as I am with Illinois. Um, I might have them a little higher than they deserve to be, but I do think they're going to have a good year, especially in the Big Ten, without having to face as tough as a schedule they did last year. Illinois is 11 for me. Florida, this probably is the most interesting team on the list. Florida, it their season all depends on what DJ Lagway does. If he's healthy, they're going to win, in my opinion. Because last year, I think they went 6-0 or 6-1 when DJ Lagway was playing. Um, Obviously, he has a lot of injury concerns. It's been a kind of a weird offseason for him. He had an issue early in the offseason with, I think, his shoulder or his quad or something, and right now he's in a walking boot. So that's a little scary, especially if he hasn't been able to get all the reps in over the offseason, going into the season without those first string reps. That could be tough, but I think he's good enough and he's talented enough to overcome that. But yeah, he has to play for them to win. He has to. And if you're Billy Napier, you better hope he's healthy all year, because I think this is it for Billy Napier. He has to win this year. They have oh my gosh, their schedule is worse than Oklahoma's. Let me see, Florida schedule. Their schedule might be worse than Florida's, or than Oklahoma's. Florida. Yeah, they play LSU. They play Miami. They play Texas A&M. They play Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. So they have a tough schedule too. I think if they go 9-3, they make the playoffs. I know no 9-3 team made the playoffs last year. A couple of those SEC teams were close, but if they go 9-3, I think they're in the playoffs with that schedule. Um, I think they have to go 8-4 though for Billy Napier to stay. You absolutely have to go 8-4. Anything less 7-5 is not cutting it. Um, it's time for Florida, man. It's time. But I like DJ Lagway, and I do think Florida is going to be a good team this year. Let me see. My number 9 team is LSU. Um, LSU, like Texas Tech, absolutely killed it in the portal. They brought in a lot of talent. I think they arguably have the best wide receiver room in the country. They bought in Barian Brown from Kentucky. They brought in Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. He was an elite quarterback 2 years ago. Last year, he struggled a lot. He was an elite wide receiver 2 years ago. Last year, they struggled. He struggled a lot with injuries, but um, he's a great wide receiver. So I think they have one of the best wide receiver rooms, and they bring back Garrett Nussmeier, who I think is going to be up there. I think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks taken off the draft going into the draft next year. Um, Garrett Nussmeier, he's an absolute baller. Brian Kelly, it's time to win. Just like Billy Napier, it's year 4, Brian Kelly. You guys went to the SEC championship game. You guys beat Alabama in your first year. But since then, it just feels like they haven't done enough, even though they've been winning. They won 9 games last year, I think. He's won 29 or 30 games in his first 3 years. So he's been winning. But at LSU, every coach has won a national championship, every single one. Um, so he has to win. He has to win. They have to make the playoffs this year, in my opinion. If LSU does not make the playoffs this year, then I think it's a letdown year. At number 8, we got Oregon. I got them a little low this year just because they have a quarterback who's still a little unproven, Dante Moore. It's kind of interesting to see how how he can replace Dylan Gabriel, but I trust Dan Lanning. He is an excellent coach. I think Dan Lanning is going to have this team ready to play, just like he always does. They're bringing back. They got a lot of young guys, but they still have some talent left over from last year. So I got them at 8. Notre Dame, I have at 7. Um, I trust Marcus Freeman, man. I think he is one of the best coaches in the country. He brought a team last year who lost to NIU to the national championship game when nobody thought they were going to get there. Um, yeah, I think he's going to have, and they got CJ Carr. CJ Carr is an upgrade from, CJ Carr is definitely an upgrade from Riley Leonard. Um, he can he has a much better arm than Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard left a lot to be desired when it came to throwing. He was a great athlete, but I think that's kind of what held Notre Dame back last year, even though they made it to the national championship game. But yeah, I think their roster is good. They have a great defense. Offensive line is incredible. They literally had a bunch of guys get starters get hurt last year before the season. Their backups came in and played. Those starters had to transfer out this offseason because they didn't have any spots for them because of how well the offensive line played last year. And they got Jeremiah Love, they got Price, they got Great House, they got a lot of guys. Um, they got a lot of guys who I think are going to really contribute this year. Um, Next up, we got Alabama at 6. Um, Alabama at 6. I think Alabama has an absolutely loaded roster. Um, I just don't really trust their quarterback play. I don't know what they're going to be doing with that yet. Let me look up their quarterback roster because I know they have Keelan Russell. I think it's Ty Simpson. Let me see. Let me look that up real quick. Reason I can't put Alabama higher than 6. They're bringing back an absolutely loaded roster. That defense is going to be good. Kalen DeBoer brought in Ryan Grubb. I think that's blame it on whatever, but I think with Ryan Grubb not being with Kalen DeBoer last year made a huge difference, especially with their offense. You saw down the stretch last year that they just really couldn't produce offensively down the field. At the beginning of the year, they could. Ryan Williams was killing it, but then towards the end of the year, they just throwing the ball was just not their thing. So I think Ryan Grubb getting back in the system, I think they're going to have some success, whether it's Ty Simpson or Keelan Russell. Um, I think Keelan Russell might actually be the third. Last time I saw something that said he was the third quarterback on the list. He was third in the depth chart, which is kind of wild. But I think as long as their quarterback plays good, the rest of the roster is going to be really great. So I think Alabama is going to have a good year. But they kind of need to, man. They kind of need to. Alabama's not used to losing, so I don't think they can be in a position where they don't make the playoffs again. Kalen Moore's not going to get fired or anything, but there's gonna start to be some grumblings around Tuscaloosa if Kalen DeBoer puts up another 9-win season, if they miss the playoffs, if they can't compete for a national championship. I think Alabama fans are gonna start to get a little disgruntled, So I think it's kind of win time. I got Georgia at 5. Um, man, death, taxes, and Kirby Smart's gonna get his team ready to play. Man, I feel like those are the guarantees of life. Kirby Smart is always going to have his team ready to play no matter who's out there. Carson Beck went out in the ACC or in the SEC championship game, and they still were able to beat Texas with a backup quarterback out there. If a couple things went their way in the Notre Dame game, they could have very well won that game. But yeah, Gunnar Stockton, man, I think I wasn't big on him right when the season ended in the early offseason, but the fact that Georgia didn't go out to find a better quarterback kind of gives me a lot of confidence. Um, I trust Kirby Smart. I trust his decision making. He's a great leader. He's a great coach. So for him to kind of stick with Gunnar Stockton gives me a lot of confidence on his actual abilities. He was I think a 4-star coming out of high school. So he's a talented guy. He's not just some scrub. Um, so that gives me a lot of confidence. And that Kirby Smart defense is always going to be elite. Um, and yeah, it's kind of like the Nick Saban effect. Until I see Georgia have a bad year, I just can't put it on pen and paper for them to have a bad year. So I got Georgia at 5. They also, brought in a couple of wide receivers. I know they brought in Zachariah Branch from USC. I know he kind of had a down year at USC last year, but he's a 5-star kid, elite playmaker, a game breaker, has a lot of talent. So I think it's going to be a good benefit. At 4, we got Clemson, man. As a Louisville fan, Clemson's been that thorn in my foot. We finally beat them for the first time last year, but I hate rooting for them, but it's just hard to deny how good of a team they're going to have this year. I know they've been getting a lot of preseason hype from everybody, but I think it's well warranted and well deserved. They should arguably have 3 or 4 guys maybe go in the first round next year. Cade Klubnik's back there. TJ Parker, Peter Woods. I can't think of the cornerback that they have. But they have 4 guys who are going to go in the first 2 rounds next year. This is Dabo's best team since that national championship team with Trevor Lawrence, I think. Especially coming off that Texas game, I feel like Cade Klubnik had an incredible year last year. I think he threw for almost 4,000 yards, if not more. He threw for 35 plus touchdowns. But something in that Texas game, I think, unlocked his confidence even more. Like he went from a quarterback who's really good, had a good year, to a quarterback who can arguably win the Heisman and be the best quarterback in the country. The way he was just throwing the ball down the field, and I think that confidence is going to come into this year, and I think he's just going to have an incredible year. Um, their schedule isn't too bad. They play Louisville at home. That's going to be a tough one. Let's see who else they play. Oh, they play LSU. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that game. First game of the year, LSU, Clemson. That's going to be an absolute heater week 1. Oh, I'm so excited for that game. But yeah, they play. Okay, they have a decently tough schedule. They play LSU. They play they play a Louisville at Louisville. They play SMU, Florida State, South Carolina. So I think, man, I think they lose to one of LSU or South Carolina. I think they go 1-1 that game. I don't know which one, but man, me being biased, the other game I really see them losing is against Louisville at Louisville. We went in their house and knocked them out last year, so we can do it at our house, baby. But yeah, Clemson. I honestly don't see them going any worse than 11-1. We're gonna do another segment, my bets segment, my preseason bets segment, where we're gonna talk about over and unders and totals and all that good stuff. A good bet, my good unbiased bet would be to take Clemson to win the ACC. I don't know what the exact line is, but I think it's like plus around 180 to plus 200 ish, which I think that's an incredible bet. Clemson to win the ACC. But yeah, I think that's how good of a year Clemson is going to have this year. I think they're going to be an incredible team. Rounding out the top three, we got Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State. I got Ohio State at 3. It's just like I was saying about Georgia. Ohio State just does not have bad years. Ryan Day, outside of Michigan, has literally lost 4 games in his career as a coach. And even before Ryan Day with Urban Meyer, like I don't even remember the last time Ohio State lost less than 3 games. Um, they just lost more than 3 games. Like they rarely ever lose 3 or 4 games. They always win 9, 10 games. And I think this is going to be another thing. Another year they do that. They got the 2 best players in the country. They got Jeremiah Smith. They got Caleb Downs in the backfield, who I think is the best defender in the country, and Jeremiah Smith, I think, is the best offensive player in the country. Um, I know they also have a little quarterback battle. Let's see. I can't think of their names right now. I think yeah, I can't think of his name. What's his name? Uh Julian Sand. Yeah, that's his name. Julian Sand. I'm pretty sure he's going to be QB1. I don't really know why he wouldn't be QB1. But Julian Sand, yeah, I think he's QB1. They got Jeremiah Smith, obviously. They got Carnell Tate. He's going to be, an incredible number 2. They got wide receivers. You know that they're gonna have weapons out there. And yeah, Ohio State. As much as I don't like it, I'm not an Urban Meyer guy, or I'm not a Ryan Day guy. Go Blue. I'm not a Michigan fan, but go Blue. I love seeing Ohio State get their asses kicked by Michigan, but they're going to have another good year. It's one of those things where until Ohio State has a bad year, I can't put it on paper for them to have a bad year. And then my final 2, these are interchangeable. If you had Texas at number 1, I wouldn't be mad. If you had Penn State at number 1, I would not be mad. At first I had Texas at number 1, and then I was like, man, I have to put Penn State at number 1. Texas is number 2 on my list. Arch Manning is coming in. Finally, it's Arch Manning time. I know everybody's been waiting for it. It's finally Arch Manning time. Um, it's one of those things where Sark is just such a great offensive mind that, just like Brom, no matter what quarterback's back there, you're going to have success. Ewers was a talented quarterback, but he wasn't really a quarterback who you were really scared of to beat you down the field, but he still led Texas to back-to-back national semis. Um, and I know a lot of people talk about, oh, why wasn't Arch starting last year? I mean, what more do you want? I mean, you have a proven guy back there with Quinn Ewers who already took you to a national semi and took you to another one. Nonetheless, that's last year, but now it's Arch Manning time. We got a little preview of Arch Manning. We know he's obviously talented. He's more mobile than Quinn Ewers. He has a better arm than Quinn Ewers. I think talent wise, he's better than Quinn Ewers. So we're just gonna have to, go out and actually see it. He played against some low level teams last year and put up good numbers. But he's getting a lot of hype. He's, I think, betting favorite to win the Heisman, which I think that's kind of wild, above Cade Klubnik. I think that's a little wild. But nonetheless, that just goes to show what people think about Arch Manning. They got absolutely loaded roster. They got that defensive edge, Colin Simmons, I think the freshman from last year. They got Ant Hill, Ryan Wingo. They got guys everywhere. The backfield, CJ Baxter was a guy who was supposed to be the starter last year, who tore his ACL before last year, and Wisner, the backup, came in and absolutely killed it. So they have an elite backfield. Texas is gonna be right there. I think it's gonna be Penn State and Texas in the national championship game. And I also, to finish the list, I have Penn State at number 1. There's a blueprint to winning in college football right now, a proven blueprint, and that blueprint is to have a talented roster, to fall short, to bring everybody back, and to win the national championship. We saw it with Michigan. Michigan got all the way to the semis. They fell short. Everybody came back. They dominated next year and won the national championship. We saw it with Ohio State. They fell short. They brought everybody back on a loaded roster. They went out, and they won the national championship. Penn State, I think, is going to be the same thing. They got a loaded, talented roster. They fell short last year. They brought everybody back, and I think they're going to have a great season. Drew Aller, I know he gets a lot of I know he gets a lot of hate, but I think Drew Aller is a stud. I think he is a talented quarterback. They got Katron Allen, they got Nicholas Singleton. They picked up was it Trevor Pena from Syracuse, the wide receiver. So he should be the wide receiver one. Um, that's been their downfall is just the wide receiver play. The fact that Tyler Warren, a tight end, I think doubled everybody else in catches last year is kind of wild. But they're gonna have to figure that out. But the rest of the roster is elite. They got Denias Sutton, Denias Denias Denton Sutton, the defensive lineman. I can't think of his name right now. Um, they got great offensive line that they're bringing back. Yeah, they got guys everywhere. So it's time. James Franklin, you got to win big games now. There's no more excuses. You have your roster. You have your guys. You have to win. You have to win the big games this year. So I do think they will. And they picked up Jim Knowles. I think that's a very, very, very underrated pickup, man. The defensive coordinator from Ohio State. He turned that Ohio State defense around, in my opinion, when he got there from Oklahoma State. But yeah, Jim Knowles, he's that guy defensively. So I think it's going to help a lot as well. Even though they're always good defensively, they just got to figure out their goal line scoring. You can't be running 4 plays in the goal line against Ohio State and not get a touchdown. But yeah, Penn State, they're my number one team. It's going to be hard for me to not bet them as my national championship bet. Um, I'm leaning towards them right now, but yeah, Penn State, they're going to be the number one team for me right now. But yeah, that's just a quick view as at my top 25. Like I said, the preseason top 25 should be dropping here in the next week or two. So we'll see how mine compares against the actual AP voters. We'll see how drastic and different mine is. But yeah, this was kind of the first video I wanted to get out, a little preview. We got the season coming up here in a couple weeks. So I'm going to be putting out more content during the week. We're going to be doing previews. We're going to be doing reactions. We'll be reacting to the updated top 25s every week. Any big news that comes out during the week, we'll try and get out here and discuss those. So